She's not just, I kill people all day, all I do is slay, slay, slay every day, blah. Hey Coven! Welcome back to the Heathen Hedge Witch. Or welcome to the Heathen Hedge Witch if you're just joining us. I am Runa Strong. This is my channel where I like to talk about everything from witchcraft, paranormal, and of course paganism. So if those are things that you're interested in, please consider subscribing to the channel and joining the Coven. Today's episode is very special, and I was waiting until right around Halloween/Samhain to make this episode because I feel like if there's ever a holiday to celebrate hell, this is it. So buckle up, because that's who we're talking about today. The goddess of death, the lady of shadows, and the ruler of the realm hell itself. Something that I feel like I should say in this intro, though, is that there is a trigger warning, because one of the things that I work on with hell is trauma, and some of that trauma might be a trigger to some people, so keep that in mind if topics such as sexual assault or suicidal thoughts and things of that nature are a little bit triggering for you. Maybe this isn't the right video to watch at this time, and you should come back when you're feeling a little more grounded. You know, that's totally fine. Something else that I feel like I should mention before we really get into the video is that these videos that go in my Path of a Pagan series are my unverified personal gnosis sort of opinions. Keep that in mind coming into this. These are not things that you will find in a book. These are things that I've discovered on my own while on this path. And I have been meeting and gathering with other pagans, as I'm sure you know by now if you've been following me for a little while. Because of that, I've also been able to sort of confirm and verify some of these things with other people who work with her. So I'm not going to be talking about anything super outlandish other than just stuff that we've learned because we work with these gods and goddesses, and that's what my working with videos are all about. Now that we've got that disclaimer out of the way, let's actually get into the video. So, like I've already mentioned, one of the things that I really work on with a lot with hell is healing my own trauma. One of the things that I honestly wouldn't have been able to do without help is dealing with my own trauma that I'd had to endure really young in childhood. I was forcibly sexually assaulted at 6 years old, and that was something that I didn't even understand at the time because I was 6, you know? So it was something that sort of, she took that memory for me so I could live my life. And then when I was older and I was able to process it, she gave it back. And that was something that really helped me see the power of shadow work and what it can do for people, because I completely changed as a person once I was able to understand why these triggers exist, why I don't like certain, like I don't like feeling like someone's hovering over me, like standing over me. Like if someone's standing while I'm sitting, I'm like, please sit down, please just sit. And a lot of that is because of trauma. And I have an understanding for that for a while, because for the longest time I wasn't in a space where I could understand that, you know what I mean? And hell has a lot of sympathy for us. This is something that I've learned through my own experience as well as hearing other people's stories, is that there is a lot of sorrow and grief in the afterlife and the other realms. And something that death gods really like to do is make sure that we can actually rest in peace, you know? It's a saying for a reason, right? You want people to rest in peace. And something that we can't do is rest peacefully if we're still holding on to all of this anger and hurt and sorrow. And so it is really important to find a god that you can work on that with. And a lot of times a therapist as well. I didn't have access to therapy at the time because it's just not available to everyone. I wasn't making good money. I didn't have a car to get myself there. You know, there was a lot of things getting in the way of me and therapy. And so for myself, doing shadow work with a goddess who is calm and stoic and grounding and a very good listener like hell really helped me through that time. And I would not be here without her, quite frankly. And we'll get into more of that later. If there's a trauma that you're working on, if there's triggers that you're trying to understand, she is definitely a good one to talk to. I know that she came to me when I was younger, and I made a video about it in more detail, but I took that down because I overshared, quite frankly. And at first I didn't expect more than just my friends to follow my channel, and then it kind of started to grow and I got nervous about people knowing all of those details. This is kind of me finding a way to redo that with this video, to honor her and to focus on her instead of to focus on the pain that I went through, because because I've processed it and I've grown, and it's all thanks to her working with her. But shadow work is more than just trauma. Sometimes shadow work is controlling your anger issues. Sometimes shadow work can be figuring out why you're projecting onto other people, and it's because that same thing was projected onto you, and now it's time to break the cycle. These are different parts of shadow work that I have worked on with Hel. I have meditated with her. I have cried a lot of tears with her. Warning, if you are going to work with Hel, have tissues ready, because you will cry. You will cry. And if you're like, oh, I don't ever cry, Hel is going to look at that as a challenge accepted, because bitch, yes the fuck you will. You will cry. You will get it out of your system. Releasing that energy is a big thing that I've been able to learn and accomplish and embody with her. I'm able to really but like so much more than that, you know, just get it out of your system, whether it's a scream, it's a sing, you know, you're singing really loud off key because this artist just knows your story in their song. Releasing can be done in a lot of different ways, and that deserves its own video, but it is something that I often do with Hel. I will ask her to come and join my circle and keep it safe and protected. Sometimes leeches happen and it is really unfortunate, so it's really important to ask for a guardian when you do these things to make sure that you're safe and they will just feed on the energy you let out and not you, okay? And that is really important to call a guardian when you do release rituals. Hel is the guardian I often call. And sometimes, as I learned with Moon Weekend, Fenrir comes along with her. So that was an interesting thing. So the two of them are good for shadow work. I don't work with Fenrir, but I've astral traveled with him before, and that was interesting. But anyways, shadow work. If you're working on healing yourself, trying to become a better person, trying to figure out what you've done that hurts others so that way you can do better, Hel, talk to Hel. Or another deity that you call to. It doesn't have to be her. Sometimes she can be really intimidating for some. I need her energy as a Scorpio, as someone, my life is all about death and rebirth. That was the mission I was given here this time, and that is her energy. She is very Phoenix energy, and that's what we're going to talk about next, because she is someone who is not only death, but she is also life, and that's not talked about a lot about her, so we're talking about that today, right now. Like I said, I'm a Scorpio. Hey, hi, how you doing? And learning how to metaphorically kill the self to rebirth a new, stronger, wiser, less gullible, more brave and ambitious self is a cycle that I've been doing basically my whole life. And having her guidance with the metaphorical death versus actual death has been very fucking helpful, quite frankly, and I really appreciate it. Without her, I don't know if I would have gotten this far, and I have to give her a lot of credit, because there was a lot of times where I craved real death. I was ready to just go. I was miserable. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Please take me. Please just let me die in a car accident. Please just let me have something freak and tragic happen so that way I don't have to kill myself, but I can still die. I don't want to be here. That's an actual prayer I prayed to her. And she just went, and keep in mind, I don't hear her often, and I'm clairaudient. I hear a lot of shit. She is very quiet. She's mostly a listener versus a speaker. But I just heard, oh, honey, with so much sympathy, and she was just like, it's not your time yet. You just need to cocoon again. And I mean, I got this tattoo for a reason, because stepping into the cocoon, liquefying the self in order to come out something bigger, beautiful, more strong, more graceful. It's not an easy task, but it is so worth it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I think I just need to change myself. And it's not that all of my problems are all my fault, but how I'm handling them is my fault. And that was, like, at the time, a really tough pill to swallow, because you start to feel like, well, what else can I do? I feel like I'm doing my only option, but we have a lot of choices. We just tend to jump for the first one that we're used to, most accustomed to, seems easier to us. This is something that I've also been able to broaden my understanding on, thanks to Hel. But like I said, I owe her so much. She helped me grow the fuck up. Real talk. Phoenix energy. Butterfly energy. There's something about her and the way that she handles things with a very stern and stoic but calm and comforting mixture of energy. And I don't know how to combine those, because in theory they're clashing energies. You know, the very stern is not a very calming thing. Typically when people are stern with you, you're a little bit uncomfy. But my cat keeps nestling on the tripod. Stella, every time I film, girl, this is not here for you to pet yourself on. Can you please stop? Stella Jane, my girl. Thank you. Stella wanted to go outside. And she can't open windows herself, you know. She's a cat. Where were we? Yes! Okay, so this is an aspect that, again, isn't really talked about her much. The more majority of stuff that people talk about her is like the afterlife aspects, which is great, very important, also a valuable topic. My dogs are barking. But the side of her energy that I really love is the caregiver side. She isn't just this merciless death god. People think that death gods, all they want is death, all they want is destruction, and that is not the case with her. Don't talk to me about the Marvel version because it's not accurate. It's not accurate. She is very much a caregiver energy for me. I really work with her a lot on mental health things, and she cares deeply about it. And like I kind of touched on already, one of the things that she really wants to be able to do is to make sure that when we do have our fated day, that we can rest peacefully. We aren't miserable because of all of the things that we left undone here to really give us peace. Oh my gosh, these dogs. They also wanted to go outside. Probably because they saw her and they were like, wait, what about us? Yes, the caregiver. Something that I really wish was talked about more with her, you know? She has a very big heart. She, as goddess of the dead, not just goddess of death, but of the dead, she wants the dead to rest peacefully. She wants us to feel completed and not undone. And it can be a challenge, you know? There's a lot of people dying all the time. All of the realms, they go to her. And it's a lot of work, but I feel like it was a task that was given to her for a reason because she tackles it, you know? And she really finds the value in bringing us stupid little mortals some peace. And I really, really appreciate her for that. One thing I feel like I need to make clear as well is, yes, she's goddess of death, but she's also goddess of the dead. She's not just, I kill people all day, all I do is slay, slay, slay every day, blah. Like, that's not her. And I'm really frustrated with the Marvel adaptation of who she is because it's not very much like her at all. A lot of people associate her with disease, pestilence, and I kind of get why, but it's not that she just like, you know what? Fuck humans. COVID-19. Do it. No, that's not her at all. It's just that people don't die an honorable death when they die from COVID-19, quite frankly. It's not something that would give someone a ticket to Valhalla, you know? And so where do they go? Well, they go to hell. And it's not a scary thing. It's so funny that Puritan ideology would make us fear such a place because it is, from my understanding, a similar energy of the heaven that they want us to strive for. And it is a place where all of your ancestors and loved ones are, and there's feasts in her hall, and there's music, and there's joy. I mean, the bards go there, you know? All of the storytellers that wrote the stories of the heroes are down there. Can you imagine what it's like for open mic night with, like, Shakespeare? Yeah, I know. It would be fucking bomb. But that's what I'm getting at, is that everybody thinks, oh, hell is such a scary place. And it's like, no, it's not. That's where all of our families are, usually. And the ones that became heroes of men, like Hercules, well, they had a more divine plan, and they are up in the sky with Sky Daddy Zeus or something. So that's on them. That's fine. We might not run into them, but sometimes those heroes still visit because they want to visit their families too. That's something to keep in mind. Why do you think she kept Balder down there? It wasn't just because her dad Loki was like, fuck Balder, I hate that guy. I mean, okay, also kind of because of that. But he's so amazing and he brought so much joy to all of the gods. What do you think he did to all of the dead ancestors? He brought them joy. He brought them happiness. He brought them something peaceful in a place where a lot of people had sorrow. And I really think, and this is just, again, personal gnosis, but I really think Hel just likes him. And maybe not in a romantic, like, oh, I think he likes me. Like, no. But I just think she genuinely likes him. She likes his energy. She likes that he is a big, comfy ball of light in a place that was really dreary and dark for a while. Yeah, I think that just seeing him around really amplified her caregiver energy because I think it showed her the options, you know? Sometimes even deities, they know a certain way and until they're shown something else, they don't realize something else exists. And when you're the Lady of Shadows, when you are basically half dead and half alive, as she is described in the lore, are, finding something like a ball of light that brings people joy and comfort even in the darkest, saddest times. That was something she really wanted to hold on. Can you blame her? So this next topic is one that is extremely important and honestly could probably use a couple different videos to talk about it as thoroughly as it deserves. However, this video is about hell, so I'm going to try to do my best to just dabble on the topic and stay focused on her. Keep in mind, I do want to dive in deeper to these topics in later videos. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below and I will do what I can to address them in the future. Ancestor work is something that we all need to work on. We all need to keep that in our practice in the back of our minds, not just around Samhain either. You can be doing it during Ostara, you could be doing it during Beltane, literally the whole year. It's fine. Your ancestors are always there. They're always there. They're a part of your bloodline. And again, another video for a whole nother topic, but the separation of spirit and soul, it gets messy. We'll talk about it, but keep in mind that even if their soul has reincarnated somewhere, their spirit is still someone you can call to, okay? Their heart, their spirit, their lives, their memories, everything that they learned that they wanted to teach you before they passed is still there, even if their soul is gone, learning other lessons in another lifetime. I know, it's a big topic. We'll get there. I'm a hedge witch. I've been learning this stuff for over a decade now. We'll get there, but we gotta start with baby steps. And the thing to know about ancestors is that sometimes they haven't been called on in a while, right? For a long time, Puritans wanted us to believe that talking to the ancestors was really talking to demons. Or at least that's what I was told with my religious trauma that I had to work through. False information. Okay, fake news. Ancestors are your family. Dead people are still people, okay? They're just not in physical form anymore. They are strictly their energetic self. And like I said, sometimes when they reincarnate, the energetic self will split from memories and such to just consciousness. And that consciousness will come out of the womb portal of someone else and blah 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 as they're born. Da da da. Again, I'm getting distracted. This is such an in-depth topic to try to digest. And it is something that I have been working on with Hell for forever because like I said, she came to me when I was 6 years old. And I've been utilizing my gifts as a medium, trying to understand death, trying to not be afraid of death for quite a long time. And I'm there, like I'm good. But this is something that took me a long time to understand, to digest, blah blah blah. I get it if this seems a little bit overwhelming to you. It's cool. But a few things that you need to remember about your ancestors is ancestor veneration, giving them offerings like you would the god. You want to make sure that their energy stays up. You don't want them to start to fade away. All of a sudden you start wondering, why don't I feel so-and-so around me anymore? I used to feel their presence all the time. They didn't go anywhere. They're just tired. Light a candle or an incense for them. It doesn't have to be crazy. It can be a little tea light. You can get boxes of 100 for them for like $10. And I mean, you don't have to have it on there all the time, but if you're thinking of them, maybe you're thinking of them because they need you a little bit and you just gotta go and light a candle for them, put it on their altar, or buy a photo of them if you can't formally have an altar because you're in the broom closet. I don't think anybody who would see someone in the broom closet with a candle by like grandma would think anything of it. They would just be like, oh, I miss her too. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So try to keep that in mind. Veneration. Also, generational curses. They are real, okay? They are very real and they usually will show up in a pattern. So let's say something that you constantly got was slapped in the back of the head as a kid. I know you kind of like have like a twitch when someone goes to like tuck your hair behind your ear or like get like a fuzz off of you because you're constantly used to getting slapped and you hated that as a kid. And now you find yourself going to smack your own kid in the back of the head and you're like, wait, no, I didn't, no, we don't do that here. I hated that. I'm not gonna be the person that makes them hate me for that. No, I'm not doing that. We don't smack our kids in the back of the head here. You know what I mean? That is breaking a generational curse. Or something like alcoholism or other addictions. You saw how alcoholism or a gambling addiction split up your family when you were a kid and now you just refuse to go to a casino, you won't take drinks. That's breaking a generational curse. Some people might look at you sideways. Those people can get fucked. You need to do what you gotta do for your generational curses in your family. Because after generational curses are broken comes the generational blessings. I can't sing. But I can tell you about generational blessings, and they look a lot like figuring out your family history because maybe you were adopted and all of a sudden the this literally happened to my family. This is an actual example and not one I made up like earlier. But this is something that actually happened where my mom was adopted and the records were closed for the years that she was adopted here in Michigan. And so therefore she didn't know anything about family history, health, blah, blah, blah. Now she realizes she has met her younger brother. She has met her aunt. Unfortunately, her mother has passed away. But she learned a lot about her. We now have another ancestor to honor. We know names. We know different health things. Like, these are different blessings that might seem crazy to someone who doesn't understand ancestor work, or maybe you don't have adoption in your line anywhere, but understanding where you come from is so important to understand how to get where you're going. Because now I know different things that maybe my grandmother struggled with, that I saw my mom was also struggling with, even though she wasn't raised by my grandmother. And I'm like, okay, I need to be aware of this. I need to make sure that this isn't a problem that I pick up as well. So far, so good. But like, now I'm aware, you know, I know that this is something that could be problematic for me if I didn't check myself. And those are very important lessons for us. Generational blessings can literally be an inheritance. They can be literal money coming to you. And not always because someone else died, although sometimes that is the case. But sometimes it's just like, let's say you just had a baby and the ancestors are so happy that you're continuing the family line that they're going to make something happen so you get a new car. So that way your old tiny car doesn't have to be where you try to fit your little baby's car seat into. You can have a nice big family vehicle now, you know, and that's just something that will just work itself out. You weren't even looking for a car. I don't know how I ended up with these new keys, but I'm gonna drive them, you know, so do it. Go ahead, talk to your ancestors, give them some offerings, ask them what they need from you too. Don't just be like, hey ancestors, could use some money. Hey ancestors, I'm kind of horny, could use a boyfriend. Like, those things are cool and great to ask about, because if you ask your ancestors, you'd be like, hey, listen, I think I'm really ready to settle down, and if you could help me like find my life partner, I think I'm really ready to meet them now. I've had that happen, and he's amazing. He's so great, and it's just like, he's so much like my uncle who has passed away that I just know that my uncle brought me to him. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty awesome thing. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out and ask them for help, because let me tell you something, the deities, especially the deities that we work with as Norse pagans, like, not saying everybody watching this is a Norse pagan, that's fine if you're not, the deities that we work with as Norse pagans, they have 9 realms of people that they're trying to help. So it is important to remember to work with your ancestors, because they are only there for you and your bloodline. They aren't here for 9 realms of individuals to assist. They are just here for you and your blood and everybody who's still living right now within that bloodline. And all the centuries of people who died before you are at your beck and call. You just have to reach out and ask them. But be careful, because not all of our ancestors are good people. So you want to be sure to put a little disclaimer out there, like, the ancestors who are here to help me with my highest good is a really good disclaimer to put. I'll say that again. The ancestors who are here to help me achieve my highest good, okay? Achieve the best options that are set up for me on this web of life. Those are the ones I want to come to the call. I don't need, you know, little pedo person, little wife beater Frank over here. I don't need any of them to answer the call. I want my great granny. I want my uncle. You know, I want people who I know are gonna be here for me, who really want to see me succeed, who really love me. Those are the energies that you want to put out into an ancestral veneration, okay? Small disclaimer, but very important. And like I said, we'll talk about this more in depth, but I've already been filming this ancestral segment for over 10 minutes. So, like I said, ancestral work is a big, big deal, and we will talk about it later. But with Hel and ancestor work, if you are struggling to make a connection, she is someone you can reach out to, give her an offering, and say, hey, I recently discovered this ancestor, and I was hoping to have a conversation with them, to have a meditation. If they have any messages for me, could you kind of give them this message and see if they're willing to talk to me? And however you like have that conversation with her is up to you and how your relationship with her works. For me, I just be like, hey, I don't want to bother you, but like, if you could, you know. I don't like to like make demands of the gods. I think that's very rude. But I will ask her for a favor. And for the most part, she'll oblige. It's really not anything, you know, you're just trying to talk to family. And yeah, that's really important. So keep that in mind, okay? Hel can help you connect to them. And connecting to them can help you in so many ways. I actually can't express, but we've already taken too much time. So let's move into the next topic. So like, when you grew up, did you watch too much TV? scary, like Scooby-Doo, and then all of a sudden you're like terrified of dying all the time, and you're just like, oh my god, but what if there's quicksand? Oh my god, but what if there's a scary guy in a mask who's gonna hate me because I'm a dang meddling little kid? Like, did you ever have like ridiculous fears of death? Because hell can help you with that. She will help you understand what really happens with death, and not just the Hollywood terrifying, oh, everybody should fear dying. I mean, I'm not saying you should like go out and try to die, but I'm saying that you will accept what fate is. I consider her, and this is again personal gnosis, you won't find this in a book anywhere. I personally consider her an honorary sister of fate because she helps us accept our fate. She helps us to understand fate, and sometimes she can become fate herself. She has helped me with people who were creepy little pedophiles, and she helped me move their fated day up, so to speak. And that was one of those moments where I was like, holy shit, this shit is very real, very powerful, and not to be taken lightly. And I do not regret what I did because, again, he was a creepy, slimy little pedophile, but it's also something to remember that don't just go asking her to help you kill people, okay? The main thing to remember is that she will help you understand what death is. However, some people do deserve it, and if it is justified, she might help you. If it is justified. If you're just over here like, oh my god, that bitch Karen, I hate her. I hate how she always comes in when I'm working and she will like make me work. That bitch. I'm sorry, but hell doesn't care about that. But if you are genuinely, like I was basically praying to hell saying, take me out or take him, because I'm thinking about dying too much with this person existing because of all that they have done to me. And she took care of it for me because I wasn't supposed to die. I have things to do still, and I don't need to backtrack. You know, I've already come so far. Let's not lose me because I still have work to do. This other person, they're dirty, they hurt children, and if anyone is going to protect children, it's hell. She's got a very big soft spot for kids as the caregiver. So yes, not only will she help you with a justified death, but she will also be there to sort of help you with understanding what death really is and how it affects us as mortals, with the spirit and the soul, like I was talking about earlier, and how those kind of come apart at some point, and your soul lives on but your spirit stays to rest with her. Like eventually you have several spirits down in there, right? Because regeneration, man, reincarnation, and sometimes there's still new souls born every day. It's not like every soul is an old soul, but some of them are, and I am one. I've been around here quite a few times. This is my third life in this realm, but my 17th total. Learned that with the meditation with Odin. Pretty intense shit. He showed me like my whole ass timeline. My first time being a mom. But yeah, once you understand how all of that sort of works for us, it makes you understand what death is. It isn't just an ending. For a lot of people, it's a fresh start. Some people just weren't given good chances and they kept making poor choices. Even though they had a good heart, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, so to speak. Even though that is a reference to the Christian hell, it still kind of applies, right? Because some of us end up dying really dirty, rotten son of a bitches, and we weren't supposed to be that way, but we kept making the wrong choices. And so a lot of us, especially dirty, rotten pedophiles, death is a fresh start. Death is a chance to try again. Sometimes when we regenerate, we have lessons to learn from our past life. Like for me right now, I have a lot of lessons to learn around driving because I've died in car crashes twice and I have a lot of anxiety around that. But for some people, such as abusers, a lot of them are going to grow up in a very rough household. So whether they repeat the cycle or break the cycle is up to them. And this is why ancestor work is so important, because not only does ancestor work heal your family line, but it can also heal your soul. Not just your current spirit that is living within you, but your long-term attached to it for the rest of eternity soul. And that is something that I think is pretty fucking important, you know? And again, it's something that you can do with working with hell, and it is so important. So keep that in mind, please. please keep that in mind. I think I went on a little rambly tangent there, but it's also really important. My final note here while talking with you guys about hell is maiden, mother, and crone energy and how it lives within all of us, but also within all of the gods and goddesses. Well, okay, the gods have a more masculine version, but at least the goddesses, right? And for me, I learn a lot from the mother and crone side of hell. I learn a lot about being a caregiver, about what it really means to give care. Sometimes giving care means saying, no, I will not give Balder back because the people down here need him. Sometimes giving care means setting a boundary. Sometimes giving care means putting yourself last because other people need you. And it's weird, right? Because sometimes giving care means putting yourself first because other people need you. And it is a weird balance to sort of figure out. And that is something that I'm learning a lot while working with her and Freya. And also something that I get from her is the crone energy, that very studious, that very I've been there, I've done that, I've seen it, I know exactly what you're talking about and this is how you handle it. Or she will say, I know exactly what you're talking about and you need to figure it out on your own how to handle it. And I do. And she will give advice sometimes, but like I said, she doesn't talk often. Normally when I get a visual with her or any information with her, it is a visual, and they usually come in dreams, and I'm not the only one that gets messages from her in dreams, and I find that to be pretty cool, you know, that she prefers communicating that way, usually because 1, people are more open to messages when they're sleeping, and also 2, she tends to terrify the shit out of people when she's not even trying to. People are just afraid of her. And a lot of this is because of the Puritan ideals around hell and how that has impacted what hell really is, especially as a Norse pagan. And so it is really challenging for her to approach people in a more conscious state. It is easier to talk to them in their subconscious for her. And so that is something that you might see a lot, especially if you are just starting to reach out to her. You might light a candle for her, sit, pray, get nothing for 3 days. And then all of a sudden you have a big dream that you're just like, oh my god, there was gigantic tables and all of my ancestors and a bunch of beautiful candles, and man, there was just this lady that just kind of like floated around the room and just made sure everybody was happy and she was smiling, and was that her? I didn't get a good look at her. She didn't want you to. She didn't want you to look at her and be afraid because she's been rejected a lot simply for how she looks. And that is something to keep in mind when working with her as well, because she is all of these amazing, incredible, powerful things, but she still is a flawed being, just like the rest of us. She has insecurities, she has self-doubt, just like the rest of us. And she wants to make sure that you can look past those things to see her for what she is truly and what she can provide to you. So keep that in mind if you reach out to her, okay? That is probably my most important advice that I have to give to you, is that she has been depicted as so horrifying by so many people that I've noticed a lot of us that follow her, that work with her, will at one point or another do a meditation to see her, and none of us have ever seen the same thing. And that's a Jotun thing, shape-shifting. It's just a thing that you see a lot in deities, but typically the more chaotic ones, you know? Odin does too, but he has chaos and order, so don't come at me with that. He's both, okay? I have seen her as a phoenix because that is her energy, the death and rebirth, the flames, the passion, the fight for death and life. It is just really special when someone like her can make an impact for you, and I don't want anybody out there who is considering reaching out to her to be afraid. Approach with caution, yes, but mostly just because she is an ancient being who deserves your respect, just as the rest of the deities are. It's not something to be taken lightly, because if she does anything, it's listen. So when you are talking to her, speak from the heart. Don't come at it from a place of ego or some sort of authority where you think you're going to tell her what to do. You're going to go kill this person for me, because that won't go well for you, okay? That's the main advice that I have for her and working with her. I could talk about her and the ancestors and all of that I've learned all day, but I feel like this needs to be a more tangible, easily digestible video, so I'm going to cut it right now and then go edit it and see. Hopefully we don't have an hour-long video. Hopefully it's like 30 minutes or less. like a good pizza, you know? But otherwise, I will see you in the next one. I hope you all have an amazing Halloween or Samhain, whether you are celebrating trick-or-treating with your living family or you are giving offerings to the dead, or maybe a little bit of both. Whatever you want to do to enjoy this time of year, I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching this video and talking about someone who honestly deserves way more recognition than they've gotten. A lot of the lore of her has been destroyed, and I think because a lot of it talks about rebirth and coming back, and that was something that the Puritans were terrified of us really understanding, and so they just sort of like, get that out of there. But this is something that I've learned that a lot of other followers have earned, and I think it's important to talk about. So I hope you enjoy connecting with her if that's something that you do. Please remember to stay weird. Normal is offensive these days. Please stay weird. Think like the madman Odin himself. And above all, be good to each other. Love and peace. It's not that hard to spread it around. It's free. I love you. Bye.